Hey, Adam.
Josh, how are you?
Good, how you been?
Good. How are you been?
Good. I think you've moved since we last spoke, right? Did you?
Twice. This place, well, I have this place, which is the only place I've been, but I am, yeah, I've kind of moved out already. I just use it for podcasting.
Okay.
It's a lot of, it's way too much for just that.
Got
So,
it.
but yeah, I'm going to keep it through mid-July, and then I moved into a, moved in with my partner. So
Oh, great.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's all very good. And this is she's away, so I'm
Got a companion.
okay. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah. Laying around the radio station is so taxing that when he came here, he needed a nap.
That's great.
This is although I mean we went for a nice long walk in the woods this morning, but he is definitely loves to lounge.
Yeah, we have two, and they when they aren't going completely batshit, they're
Yeah.
usually
It's like one or the other, right?
two speeds.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
cool. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your thinking of me, and I think I've told you probably in the past that, any opportunity to bring you back on, and there's definitely one thing that's sprung from this whole thing, which has been probably why I still do it, is because I'm able to keep in touch and with some great folks over the years, over and over. So, and I count you in that group for sure.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah, for sure. You're always working on things that are right. Well, first of all, I just appreciate them, but also they're right in the wheelhouse.
Right. Right.
So it's great that I'm glad you reached out. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure. All right. Well, take care.
Are-
Oh wait, no. Well, there's a reason for this call. Yeah. No. This was interesting. I've had I think I had on an other did another thing on an Airmail article, but it was you and I have done this for.
Bob Rafelson.
Yeah, that I remember.
Yeah,
Was that for Vanity Fair? Or was that for Airmail?
that was for Rafelson was for Esquire.
Esquire, of course. Okay, that's probably why I couldn't remember quite, because I was thinking one or the other and I was confused. That's because it wasn't either.
Yeah, right. No, I did Rafelson and the last movie, Dennis Hopper's movie on for
Sure. Yeah, yeah. And I don't. Do you know Nick Ebling?
oh yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm trying to remember why though.
Well,
He oh
he directed the documentary Along for the Ride.
right, he did Along for the Ride. Yeah, exactly. He and I
And
met up in LA.
okay, and
Right.
he has a great coffee table book about, which companion book, I guess you call it, for Along for the Ride. And he just wrote a novel, which is really good. And I brought him on. I mean, or he reached out too, actually, and I could put him in the same categories that you're describing. I love it. I mean, it's only his second time. This could be your fourth time for all I know. But like, he has a novel. It's right sitting. I can see it. I finished it a while ago, and I talked to him about it.
Oh
And
cool. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna pick up a copy.
yeah, an order copy. It's called Earthquake Weather, which is a reference to a Joe Strummer solo album.
Okay. That's awesome. Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
That-
love
that-
it. Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
yeah, he's a great guy.
Um, and I just had him on like maybe 3 weeks ago. Funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
So,
like Nick a lot. He's great.
well, this new article that you just got published in Airmail, which is, you know, the been around for now, I'm going to guess about 4 years.
Yeah, I think like exactly 4 years. About yeah.
Um, and the editor of Vanity Fair left,
Yes,
or it
Graydon
was
Carter. Yeah.
Graydon Carter, of course, and his son Ash has done this podcast in the past. Graydon Carter, after he left Vanity Fair, founded Airmail, which is this terrific newsletter you have to subscribe to, but it has great articles, much like the one you recently published. about the backstory or origin story of Caligula.
Yes, which was really fun to do. I,
Yeah.
really
How
fun. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's funny. I saw Caligula when I was, I think, 14, with a bunch of guys I went to boarding school with.
Oh,
We like, I was in boarding school, and we kind of snuck away to Boston, and somehow, we got in to see it.
were you an Exeter or something?
I was at Milton Academy,
Okay, I've heard of
just
that.
outside Boston. And it's funny because we all went, we're like, oh, this is going to be just like, it's going to be like going to, porn movie. We were all so excited. And it was like one of the most troubling movies I've ever seen in my life. I think we were all scared off of sex for about 2 years. We were like,
Totally. I had the same experience. What year? Wow, how old were you? You said 14?
yeah, I was 14.
Okay, so was it when it came out theatrically there, or
Yeah.
okay. So right, and Boston is actually mentioned because it was almost banned,
Yes.
which became marketing language, almost banned.
Right.
Um uh yeah, I just to share, and then I want to get to your story there, but I remember going also, it might have been the Bleecker Street Cinema or the St. Mark's, one of the downtown East Village cinemas that aren't there anymore. So don't look for it.
Okay.
But I remember my friend Debbie Alperin and I'm assuming, what year were you born?
I was born in 66.
Okay. So I was a little older, maybe, but not much older. And we probably thought the same thing. Let's go see this movie. How we got in there. I mean, it's East Village in New York City in the 70s. So that's how.
Right.
But still, we had no business being in there. We I think we probably watched at least a good third of it, at least, and then we just looked at each other and said, "You want to get out of here?" Yeah, because we were both like too young, and it was just too disturbing.
Yeah.
Um, it
It
was
was really, yeah.
yeah, the violence maybe as much. I might have had the same reaction to Clockwork Orange, but
But Clockwork Orange didn't have a 5-story thing that took
head
human
chop
heads
off.
off.
Yeah, a 5-star, right, exactly, decapitator.
Yeah, human weed whacker.
Well, all right. So, did you pitch this to Airmail, or did they come to you? How did this form? How did this come about?
I pitched it a couple of years ago,
Oh,
actually, and then they were like kind of waiting for a good story to peg it to.
okay.
So I had done all the interviews, and then with it showing at Cannes,
Oh, it did.
yeah, they just showed it at Cannes, and so they were like, okay, now is the time for the epic Caligula story.
But
But it was yeah.
oh no, wait. You have to pause. There's going to be lots of questions.
Okay.
Wait. So you wrote the article a couple of years ago, or pitched it a couple of years ago?
I worked on it a couple of years ago. You literally, yeah, I pitched it a
You
couple of years ago.
and you lined up the interviews.
Yeah.
So right. I mean, like you got like Rick McDowell, like McDowell, and who else is Helen Mirren? Is she
Helen Mirren, who was like, that was great. I mean, it was
oh
like
yeah.
so surreal. I was like, she was like sitting in an airport lounge next to Taylor Hackford
Really? Oh, they're married, right?
about this on the
Um,
phone, like at LAX, and I was just like, I am talking to friggin' Helen Mirren. I mean, it was one of the she was completely amazing and unbelievably unintimidating. When I did the article about Bob Rafelson, I talked to Nicholson on the phone, and I about had a nervous breakdown. It was a lot easier to talk to Helen Mirren. She was really a good sport.
right. Well, talking to somebody also disembodied, like it's not preferable. I mean,
No, it's the
it's
worst. They're
best to
not
meet
even
people in person, see their facial, and then you can also imbue them with your warmth and your natural,
exactly. Yeah, no, she everything you would hope she would be, and she had a great sense of humor about being in the film.
Right. So, well, it's amazing that you were able to get those without, maybe just because of your experience, your history, without without someone who's publishing it, without a magazine or, uh, in place, that you were able to get.
Well, no, Airmail was like, they were into it. They were like, go ahead and
Okay.
do it.
Oh, so they gave you,
They gave me the
uh,
go ahead. It's just it took a couple years for the story
they.
to run.
I see, because of they wanted something to pin it to. I understand now. Okay,
Yeah,
got
so,
it.
I got to talk to Malcolm McDowell.
Malcolm,
I
right?
talked to who he was also great, and
I've
very,
heard.
yeah, really a great storyteller, great interview.
That's
Um,
great.
I talked to John Steiner, who has since passed away, who plays Longinus in the movie,
Right.
and Morella D'Angelo, who's an Italian actress who was in it. I mean, I talked about like 7 or 8 people. It was really, it was really a fun story to work on.
All right. So, and had you seen it? Obviously, you watched it again prior to beginning your research and interviews.
Yes,
It
yes,
had
and I
been a few years. Had you
have.
seen it in between?
No, I nothing had brought me back to wanting to watch Caligula during the period in between.
And what was your experience seeing it again?
You know, having done, a lot of the research before doing the interviews, but having done research, it was a little more clinical of a
Yeah,
watching than it
sure.
was when,
A little bit more academic. Yeah.
yeah, a little more academic. But it was, I mean, it's just insane. I mean, it's, to see that movie and go like, Peter O'Toole and Helen Mirren and John Gielgud are in this movie, was just blew me away. It was just such a completely strange, uh, thing to see these, I mean, gigantic stars.
Oh, that's
Um,
world famous. And yeah, I remember the press even, that at least Gielgud claimed that he, performed his scenes, but had no idea that he was in a porn movie, essentially in a porno, for lack of another word.
right. No, that was one of my favorite things was Malcolm McDowell told me the story of O'Toole showing up on the set, and he was smoking pot and just, stoned all the time. And he looked at Gielgud and he goes, "Hello, Johnny." He's like, "What's a Knight of the Realm doing in a porn film?" Which I just love.
Hysterical. What
I
was he
didn't,
doing in there?
but I'm
What
sorry.
was he? What was he doing in there? Now that
You know,
we,
I think, what happened was, this movie had kind of this air of sophistication about it going
right.
into the project because it was written by Gore Vidal.
That's right. And also, so it was purported to be going to be very historically accurate.
Yes. And nobody, I think, anticipated that historical accuracy was going to include,
Orgies.
bestiality and an
Right.
orgy.
Incest. Don't forget
Yes,
my favorite. Yeah.
right. Yes, necrophilia, all kinds of wonderful things.
Yeah. But and parts, much of the storyline probably was very accurate
Yeah, it's
historically.
funny. The two thing, so Gucci, what happened was, Gore Vidal had gotten this project from Roberto Rossellini, who wanted to make a really historically accurate film. And Gore Vidal wrote the script, and Bob Guccione, from for those who don't know, the publisher of Penthouse magazine, became involved as the financier for the film. And so, there was, despite Guccione's involvement, this was a fairly big budget picture at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it had this, real air of like historical accuracy and class about it. And and in the aftermath of the film, Malcolm McDowell told a great story about how Colin Firth, who's like a history buff, Roman history buff, said it was the most historically accurate film he'd ever seen about about Rome, and Malcolm McDowell was just like, oh, good God. Don't talk to me about Caligula. But yeah, there was a trial. The other thing was there was a trial in Boston over whether or not this film was going to be released, whether it had any artistic or historical merit. And a dean of the classics department at Harvard testified, while he couldn't comment on the quality of the movie, that it was historically very precise, which is, I love the idea of that court case.
Yeah, right, right. And then, so we assume that, well, maybe because of that it was Guccione and involved in terms of producing it, that that stuff we normally wouldn't see in a film or nearly as explicitly was now, what a large significant portion of the film,
Yes.
as we mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but we can assume that orgies took place and that this guy, who's, by the way, Caligula was a nickname, it wasn't his actual name, right? It meant little boot,
yes, that was the nickname, meant
but
little
it was
boot.
Gaius Germanicus, or what was his real name? Do you remember?
That I cannot actually remember off the top of
Okay. But he was supposedly, when in the first section of his reign was supposedly really pretty cool.
right.
And
Yeah,
then
no,
something
he
happened to him.
yeah, he started out as kind of a man of the people.
Yeah,
And was a kind of a fair and just ruler, as fair and just a ruler as you got in the
Roman
Roman
year.
Empire at the time.
Right.
But yeah, he went kind of off the deep end. And
It could have been syphilis.
yeah, it could have been syphilis. I mean, I think Guccione's perspective on this, and I think Vidal's perspective too, was the idea that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And
Mm,
Vidal said something to the effect of, this movie is about what happens when you give a young man life and death power over everybody in the world. I mean, he's a young guy who was the most powerful man in the world.
right.
And so as a result, I think the idea was that the power was so corrosive that he just completely, went nuts.
So a number of the key people that we've been talking about raced to get their name taken off the picture,
Yes.
like Gore Vidal.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, Gore Vidal, it's you never get a bad story with Gore Vidal.
No,
And Gore Vidal, there was he he asked for his name to be taken off the picture. And initially, Gore Vidal, it was called Gore Vidal's Caligula.
right.
And that was going to, again, give it this connotation of class and sophistication and historical accuracy. His initial script, and this is one of my favorite things that happened, was had only one heterosexual sex scene, and
Mhm.
had innumerable scenes of homosexual sex, which Bob Guccione found was not going to work for him or for Penthouse readers. And
Right.
so somebody who worked for Guccione said, Gore would send him script pages and Bob would send Gore Vidal notes on the script. And she just said, if you can imagine Gore Vidal receiving notes from Bob Guccione on a script.
Replace pack with.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a little hesitant to continue, but
Uh, well, and then when I loved when the movie came out, Gore Vidal said it was like watching a Copenhagen sex show
yeah.
in the lobby of the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach, which is just so perfect, perfectly Gore Vidal of a comment.
And so again, people who want to read your article, we're talking to Josh Karp, by the way, who is a journalist and among other things. People can go though to Airmail, search this article, I guess is the easiest way. We'll put a link, like when we in the social media, but so people know how to find it. but you can go to Airmail, find the article, and then just put your email in and read the whole thing. It's not that, it's actually relatively economical. An article, I thought it was going to be longer.
Yeah, it was funny. I
There's a book in there, I'm sure.
usually am really good at staying on word count, and that one initially, I think it wound up about 3,200 words. I think it was about 6,000 words when I first wrote it.
Oh,
And I had to really really pare it down because it was just endlessly insane stuff happening.
right.
Like
Yeah.
you could write, you know, an
Well, there
epic.
is, right. But would you say this is a great case where an article does it more justice than a book might?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think a book. Somebody did write a book. One of the
Oh,
crew members. I
okay.
can't remember the name of it, but one of the crew members wrote an account of his.
Well, that would be, certainly fun to read.
Yeah,
That I'd read. But you're right. Maybe a more of a, as you described, a clinical or academic approach. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
if you take all the tawdry stuff out, I mean, you got very little left. Just
Right.
some relationships in there that were obviously um adversarial and tense, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, I think for me doing an entire book on it would have been too much, like mentally,
Yeah.
to write that much about Caligula, but it was really well suited to this kind of story. And you had all this conflict, Guccione and Tinto Brass, who
Right.
directed the film.
And who had
And
his name taken off. It's one of the few cases I've never heard of a film coming out with no director in the credits.
right, well, I mean, his objection was, I think, ultimately that Guccione, when Tinto Brass, who had directed Salon Kitty, which is an erotic Nazi exploitation film, if that genre exists. It may only have been in that film. When he hated Guccione, and so he would do whatever he wanted, and then Guccione would show up. He'd shoot what Guccione wanted while Guccione was there,
I
and then
see.
the Guccione left, he'd just shoot whatever he wanted. And there was a great thing where they were shooting something insane, and Malcolm McDowell asked why they were shooting it, and he said, "If we don't screw Guccione, we fail." And so he wound up getting locked out during the editing process by
Right.
Guccione, who had never shot a film before, but who was shooting
B-roll.
scenes. Yeah, he was shooting porn scenes back in Rome with the Penthouse Pets. There was a huge debate over the Penthouse Pets, or a fight over it, because they were all on the set all the time, and Tinto Brass wouldn't use them.
Hmm.
He was using all kinds of his sexual stuff was extremely bizarre, and did not include the pets, was what Guccione wanted, in the film. That was his, he thought that would really make the movie work.
Hmm.
So yeah, at one point, I think Guccione said something like, Gore was it Tinto was suing us, Gore was suing Tinto, we were suing so and so, and I said everybody was suing
It was a regular daisy chain of lawsuits.
Yes, exactly.
And one of the other people you spoke to was Bob Guccione Jr.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
How was that?
It was, it was really interesting. I thought, one of the things was, that people don't really know about Bob Guccione is that he was an artist before he became the editor of Penthouse Magazine. He was a photographer, he was a painter, and I think, he had invested in successful films. He was a large investor in Chinatown
Hmm.
and Longest Yard.
Movie.
And he, I think, wanted to be taken seriously,
Right.
as a producer and as an artist. And that was, really, that was the main thrust of the conversation with Bob Jr.
Right.
My dad really wanted to be taken seriously. And this film was, to some extent an attempt to do that by doing a movie with Gore Vidal, by doing a movie with Peter O'Toole and John Gielgud and Malcolm McDowell and Helen Mirren.
Right. And I shuttled through it. Somehow I have access to a copy. I do not have a DVD. They purport that they're still selling like 3,000. Although, is it out of print? I'm not.
As early as long ago as like the mid 2000s, they were selling 3,000.
I just find that rather remarkable, but I will take it at face value.
Right. No, I mean, it's funny, like he, on the one hand, he wanted to be taken seriously. On the other hand, he knew how to make money off the movie.
Right. Sure.
He bought theaters to show it in so that he would get all the profits. He charged, he created his own rating system so that it was not rated X. And he created huge mystery around the making of the film. Like there were all these rumors going around Rome when they were shooting, that there was bestiality and animal slaughter and, pedophilia and all these things going on. And he closed the set and he said, nobody talked to the press. And he wanted all those rumors.
Sure,
so
of course.
By the time the movie opened,
right.
People were paying twice as much as a regular movie ticket and lining up around the street, including the New York Times critic Vincent Canby, to see the film. So he was, if nothing else, he was a good operator. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, a natural marketing pro.
Yes,
to say the least. Well, let's not give away too much more. The article is available right now. It's just, when did it come out? When was it? I don't know, released?
Just this past Saturday.
Okay, so it's brand new, right off the ink is still wet.
Exactly.
Ink is not dry yet. So, and I think it's great for anybody who's interested in 70s cinema. This is going to be right up your alley, to say the least. It's just a great story with great characters, and it could never. I don't know if it could happen anymore. I mean, probably not. Which is also why it's just so amazing that movie was out, and that you and I got in there as teenagers. It's just
those were the good old days, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I remember doing that was in '79 when Alien came out, and we were on the Upper East Side. My friend Alice and I from high school. We were in high school, and we went someday, or maybe we played hooky because maybe we already finished college applications and stuff. I don't remember, but I remember it was 70. No, wait, it couldn't have been. No, 79. I was too young. Anyway, we went to the Upper East Side, I remember, to the movie theater, and we talked our way in. I mean, they looked at us rather skeptically, but they still sold us our tickets to see Alien. So back then, you could get away with it in a city like New York City, getting into a movie when you were too young.
Yeah, no, I saw Animal House when I was 12.
Oh. There was and I've had on 2 or 3 actors from that movie on this podcast over the time.
Oh, really? Who have you had?
Yeah, there's your next article, by the way. I've had on Peter Riegert. Karen Allen, right?
Karen Allen, sure.
Karen Allen. I don't even know how I would have even she's been on twice, actually.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah. And maybe one other actor. Well, I'm working on Tom Hulce because he lives up here where I am.
Oh, he would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Such a great actor.
I know. And, he lives in Germantown, which is right nearby, and he directs theater up here, apparently. So I got to get Tom Hulce on this show.
Yeah, for sure. He would be great.
I'll just drive around the neighborhood until I see him on the street. It's got to come out once in a while.
Right, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Josh, unless we've left anything significant out, I want people to read the article. We'll put, like I say, we'll put I'll spread the word, and
thank you.
Real thrilled that you were able to come back on, and we'll just do it again. I don't know what you're working on, but whatever it is,
I'll be back.
Okay.
Thank you for agreeing to have me back. But yeah, I will.
My pleasure.
Cool.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care, man.